listening to the Accordion to Me podcast with Veronique Medrano. Hi, I'm Veronique, and on this week's episode, we chat with content creator and radio host of the #1 Spanish morning show in South Texas, Denisse Garcia, aka La Ronca. Whether it's going viral online or engaging in pop culture on the radio, Denisse has grown her influence in South Texas as one of the few women in radio making an impact in the media space. The Accordion to Me podcast is sponsored by Cricket Wireless. Make the switch and join the Cricket comunidad with me, Veronique. I just made the switch and am connected with family on both sides of the border, and I even got myself a new phone, a Moto G 5G. And trust me when I say, there's a reason that right now, while we're recording, the phone is on Do Not Disturb. Everyone is calling. Everybody. And Cricket removes the extra hassle of me worrying about the high bill from everyone and their grandmothers and their abuelas and their bisabuelas calling me to figure out what's going on. Where am I performing next? What am I doing? Did I eat enough? Did I take all my vitamins? All of that good stuff, all the family stuff, all of that. But they make it super easy to not worry about the added confusion of charges calling back and forth from the US and Mexico. Now the whole family can stay in touch. And trust me, they stay in touch. Now switch to Cricket and get 4 lines for $25 each per month, plus unlimited nationwide 5G that includes Mexico. It's just one reason why people who come to Cricket stay with Cricket.
Cricket may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Discounts vary per line. Cricket's 5G requires a compatible device and is not available everywhere. Fees, terms, and restrictions apply. See store for details.
I love an episode. Like right now. Yes, right now. Ahorita. Ahoritita.
Wow, what a presentation. I love to be here. Thank you for this space. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited. I don't know what to expect. So I'm kind of like that excitement, nervousness.
Yes.
But I'm very happy to be here.
Yes. And I was about to say, like, you have definitely made a name for yourself in South Texas, and in such a way that there's so few women in radio.
Yeah, there is.
And especially Spanish radio. Like, to top it all off, there's even fewer women in Spanish radio. It is mostly a male space. And so to see you flourish in this environment makes me so happy, because it's something that other women can see, especially, okay, you don't have to just be a singer. Okay, you don't just have to be a host, or you don't have to do XYZ things. There's such a vitality to what you're representing in regards to radio.
Yeah, because before I was in radio, I was a soccer player. And before a soccer player, and well, not before soccer player, but after I was a soccer player, I started studying to become an engineer. I wanted to be a civil engineer, but things happen, life takes you places. And I came back to the Valley, and I was studying to be a teacher. Not something that I wanted, not something that I was passionate about, but it was something that, because of the studies I had and because of, background in my family, I was like, well, that's the best next thing. But then again, I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm in radio. So, and I'm happy, Veronique, to be here, not only because it's a space to speak our minds out and know a little bit more about myself, but because you're such an empowerment, and I see your reels and I see your social media, and I see how you are a very strong girl, independent. Make this clear. We don't need to be with men. We choose to be with men, okay? We are very independent, I think so. So I think, and I thank you for being that type of girl too, because you inspire us.
Oh God, I'm not gonna cry this early. No, you
can't if you want to.
I can't yet, not yet.
If you want
maybe
to.
later. I wanna rewind a little bit. You were a soccer player?
Yes.
In high school, in college?
I was in high school, but I was in UTSA. I played for UTSA. I'm a road runner, baby. So
you were in my opinion, that is like minor leagues, because
it's a minor league.
College playing is not any easier than high school. And so, what drew you to the sport of soccer? What was it about it that just really made you just liberated in that sense?
It's just that I was so good at it, because in reality, it was something that I did growing up. I'm from Mexico. I was born and raised in Rio Bravo, like frontera with, with South Texas. So growing up, I had my brothers and my neighbors and even people that played in the National League in Mexico come to visit the family or whatever, and they will play on the street. Y mind me telling you, en Rio Bravo no teníamos pavimento. So it wasn't like nice roads or nice outdoor, sí, no, era caliche, era grava, it was dirt, like dirt. So growing up, I would play with the guys older than me, and my brothers too, they were older than me. So I was just good at it. When I came to the States, I was 15. I remember my coaches in Donna, because I went to Donna, they're like, Denisse, ¿por qué no tratas volleyball? ¿Por qué no tratas soccer? And I was like, my parents can't take me. And this was like 8th grade, because I came to the States when I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
And then 9th grade, again, I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. So the principal was like, come over here. What's your name? What do you do? Like, let me see your classes. He saw my grades. He goes, what are you doing with these hoodlums, I think he called them. And I was like, what is that? Yo no hablaba ni inglés.
¿Qué es hoodlums?
Hoodlums. I'm like, ¿qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso? And he's like, mijita, you cannot be there. You need to go to athletics, try to form, like a better life for you. And I was like, I didn't understand that at that time, because my family wasn't even educated. My family was just hardworking, and they still are. So my parents like, ve a la escuela, es todo. That's all we ask from you, like go to school.
Just go to school and graduate. At that point,
yeah. So playing sports was a no-no, a big no-no, especially because I lived in Alamo. So my parents taking me to Donna, it was no. And then my dad was still in Mexico trying to retire. So no, there was no way. My 10th grade, they're like, Denisse, you are good. You need to be in sports. We're gonna get you a ride. So mira, hasta me dan chills. Every day was somebody else giving me a ride, and I felt so bad, because the parents were like, oh, viene Denisse, okay, come on. We gotta take her again. I mean, I don't know what their plans were. I don't know if they could, but I had 2 or 3 classmates that lived in the area. So then it was easier for my parents to just grab me from their home, But it was a hard road, and then it all paid off. I got a scholarship, and I didn't take it because I wasn't legally still here. Like,
you were still undocumented.
Well, I had a visa to be here, but those visas are only for like 3 days, and then you have to go back. So I was still fixing my status.
Okay.
I migrated with the visa, but I was still like not legally here. So it was.
As a kid, this is an interesting conversation, because kids in this border region. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Kids in this border region. I know this is an emotional topic, because this is such a story that isn't told enough. That kids in this border region, there's this mentality.
I don't want to cry.
Let me get you a tissue.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, you didn't cry, but I did. It's too early.
Oh my God.
It's too early in the conversation.
But you know what? This is an emotional topic, and I understand why. I am not an immigrant. I was born in a border town. I was born here, and we'll get into some of the things I've seen, and I want you to break it down for me, because you probably have a better experience with it than I ever could. But there's always this mentality of crabs in a bucket. Nadie te va a ayudar. Te van a dejar atrás. They're going to pull you back. Like they're not looking out for your best interest. But I think what is so touching to me is that at a moment in time in your life, because I had the same dumb situation in 9th grade where I was hanging around with the wrong people, made really shitty decisions in my life, and my parents worked so hard to try to get me out of it. But it was also the people around me, the teachers, the principals, the people that they saw the potential in me that I couldn't even see in myself. And it was like, even though the families were like, ay, pues, viene Denisse. Like, les valió madre. At the end of the day, they may have felt that, they may have looked that way, but they put that aside. Like, they let themselves feel it in that moment, but they put that aside because they also saw the potential in you.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask you, how does that feel, knowing that you had the reverse crabs in a bucket. If anything, the crabs were trying to push you out of the bucket. They wanted to see you flourish and grow.
And you know, I want to le mando un saludo a la señora Gallegos, Bautista Gallegos. She's the mom of a real good friend of mine. We lost contact for a couple of years because I've been all over the U.S. We'll talk about that too. But now that I'm back in the Valley, about 4 or 5 years ago, I made contact with her. Her name's Elizabeth, and she's the mom of my good friend growing up, Griselda. Y era la mamá que me llevaba a veces, como te digo, con el ride, y a lo mejor no tenía ganas. But she always pushed me, and she would tell me, Denisse, you're not one in a million. You're unique, and you have something. You are not one in a million. Porque siempre nos decían, ustedes son una en un millón. Like, take that advantage. No, you're not one in a million. You are unique, but not one in a million. You are you, and you have to take care of you, and you have to make the best decisions for you. Yo nunca me porté mal, but I will hang out with those people because those were the only ones that would talk to me. Y eran ganguerillos, y que esto, y que lo otro. But I wasn't like getting into fights. I wasn't a troublemaker.
I was.
So that's what the principal asked me. I mean, let me see your classes. I was moved from regular classes to pre-AP. Yo no sabía inglés, Veronique. Yo estaba aprendiendo el idioma, but I was so good in math, and that's the reason why I wanted to be an engineer. So they started moving me classes too. And I think that helped me. Like, people around you can either tell you to do things that are not good or bad, or, you know, but at the end of the day, you make the decision. So you gotta give yourself some credit too. Those crabs in the bucket may try to pull you down or try to push you out. But at the end of the day, it's you that make the decision. Give yourself some credit, people. If you are in a good place right now, if you have the job of your dreams, or you're doing whatever you dreamt one day that you could do and you're doing it, give yourself the credit.
That's
I don't know if you ever thought about that.
No, I never thought about that, but I also, you know, I was driving over here and I was, you know, thinking about, you know, just the fact that, you know, I touched upon the fact that you're a woman in radio, but now just starting this conversation, because I was thinking, I'm like, you know, there's so few of us in the interview space, in the business, on the other side of it, not just as an entertainer, but as a media person. And that's where I wanted to celebrate you, because
Thank you.
It's the truth. But looking at this, it's like, there is a sense of networking and just the socialness of it, that it is so vital to have a community. I always say a community, an environment, a set of people that support you. Because in high school, like, I was the nerdy bad kid. That's the best way to describe
That's the best description.
Because I was like, don't look at me, I'm here with the book. And then I'm like there doing pranks and shit. And I'm like,
and you're like the first one.
No. I'm like, I can't do that. I like my books too much. So somebody else would always get shit sometimes, and people would try to mess with me in middle school and high school, and because I was so smart, I would figure out other ways to mess them up.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mess them up directly. Like, si andaban, tú sabes, así, fregando, I would figure out another way, because my mom always told me I was smart and said, you know, you have a good brain, use it. And so I never wanted to resort to fisticuffs, pero soy de la Southmo, so no andas chingando.
Papá.
So sí, estoy bien, pero no manches, no andas chingando.
Sí.
And that's just, there's an energy to that. So you're dealing with the visa situation. Tell us a little bit about that, because a lot of the times people go, pues están aquí legales, or like, you know, kids and kids have such an awful time having to be right in the middle of a situation where they're like, I'm doing it legally, yo. Like, you don't even understand. You're building a narrative that doesn't exist. And so tell us a little bit about your experience getting yourself to a point where you can finally go to UTSA.
Well, see, the first thing that I want to touch is, when you're a kid, you don't know any better but whatever your parents are telling you. So your parents are always trying to do like what's best for you, and they're gonna always try to encourage you to like not feel bad. Pero viene otra gente y te está diciendo mojado, tacuache, alien. Because I remember they calling me that, and I was like, ¿qué es eso? Like, you know, like I was so naive. Well, I still am a little bit, pero ya tengo como digo, no soy de Salmos, pero soy de Álamo chiquito, ¿eh? No, tampoco tanto, pero sí. Pero what I'm trying to say is that people are bad too. Like, people are mean, and they're gonna try to destroy you if they see a potential in you. People don't envy you because of the things you have or because of the brain. People try to be mean to you because it can't be you. There's an essence to every person, and nobody can outshine that. Nobody can take that away from Veronique. You are very special on your own way. No es por cómo te ves, no es por lo que tienes, es por tu esencia, how you carry on. And that's what was happening to me. People were being mean. People were bullying me around because I didn't know the language. I remember being in sports, and one time we won some championship, and they started singing, "We are the champions." And I started saying, "We are the champions, we are the champions." And they're like looking at me like, and I was like, what did I say? Like, what did I do wrong? Well, it's not champions, it's champions. But nobody told me that. They were just bullying me around, and then they started talking about it, and it was just bad. Like, it was just bad. But I always had the certainty that I was gonna do whatever I could, and people couldn't bother me. So it was like a shield around me. And so that situation didn't affect me anymore. Si me decían lo que querían. My own family, I'm not gonna say who, immediate family, sent immigration services to our house so that we could get deported. It didn't happen. I was 16. The worst part of the story is that the person that sent immigration is illegal too, up to today. Up to today, 30 years later, or, you know, not 30, but 20 years. 20 years, she's still legal. And I'm like, why would you do that to your own family, right? But it was what I said. I was doing good. I was in sports. I was getting letters from the principal, from the president. Back then it was Bill Clinton. I got a letter of achievement. I mean, I was making it happen for my family. I was the first one, the first generation to go to college. And the only reason why I went to college, it wasn't because my parents had the money. It wasn't because I was legal, like I said. It wasn't because of financial aid. It was because in the summer when I graduated, I started working at a part-time job in Harlingen as a waitress. And I became really good friends with an Anglo couple. They were in their 70s. So I remember they came in one Sunday and then another Sunday, and on the third Sunday, I'm like, come on in, I have your table and I have your order ready. And they're like, what? They ordered the same thing all the time. And I still remember, Veronique. It was a taco, it was a 12-inch taco, flour taco, potato, egg, grilled onions, and cheese with a coffee. And the lady always had scrambled eggs, no beans, toast, and a tea. So for a couple of weeks, it was the same thing, and it was only on Sundays that they showed up. So they became acquainted, and then they liked me, and they would talk a little more, and they found out about my situation. They asked me for my grades, and thanks to them, they went and spoke at the University of Pan Am. Right now it's UTRGV, and because since I had been here for so many years, and because I had my visa and all that, they were able to get me accepted, and because of my grades. So they paid my tuition, which, by the way, wasn't as expensive as now. Please lower those rates. I have a kid in college.
Lower those rates.
Yes.
Lower those rates. They're going to be like, Veronique, you're an alumni. Me vale. Lower those rates.
No, for real. Like, right now, it's outrageous.
It's so expensive. Like, I can understand, and this is kind of going off topic, pero en verdad, I understand, like, for the sports team, okay, like the sports department has a higher whatever. The medical school, okay, pero no manches nomás just to get a bachelor's.
Like a basic?
Just get a basic bachelor. Estás ahí like going, man, I might as well go to South Texas Voltec or something.
So, ellos me pagaron la escuela. And I was in playing soccer right there.
Okay.
Because there was nothing, you know. I had turned down the application. I had turned down the scholarship. It was going to be at a junior college. I don't remember, close to Corpus. I don't remember which the name of it was. It's been 20 years. But it was a junior college, so I couldn't do that. And I didn't even try out. I don't even think UTRGV had a soccer team back then.
No, they didn't.
And I think the second year they did, but that's when I moved to UTSA because of them también. Me llevaban a la sinfonía cada mes. as long as I kept my A's, and I don't think they even, no creo que ni me exigían una A. It was just my compromise to them as a way of thanking them to get good grades. So I was over there, and then I saw a flyer about the tournament. They had a tournament, and they had tryouts. I'm like, okay, there's a tournament, there's tryouts, there's gotta be a team already. What do I do? And then I checked the dates, and it was the last day. It was on a Friday. So I went to a store, I bought me some cleats, and I came back. And I hadn't been playing for a whole year. I still made the selection. I still made the team. Out of 400 people and 11 returnees, I was one of the 21. So they only selected 10 girls. Me metieron, me sacaron, dije, ya me chingué, no me van a agarrar. And then it was a Friday, and they said, tomorrow, you know, you're gonna get a call. If you made the team, you get a call. No agarré la llamada. Hasta el lunes. Pero yo no sabía eso. Todo el fin de semana dije, ¿para qué iba? You know, like, ¿para qué iba? Ni modo. Ya no quiero esta vida. No, no es cierto.
No, but like, we're so dramatic in our teams.
Yeah, we are.
Like, no, for reals. I would have been like, no manches, me duele la vida.
And I was 19. I was going to be 20. I remember that year. Y pues me llamaron el lunes. And that's how I started soccer. It wasn't because I got the scholarship. It wasn't because of anything else. I was just good. Growing up, playing that sport, I was just good. Y me gustaban otros deportes y jugué basketball, volleyball. I even did track, I remember. But no, my main sport, like, you're just born with like a talent. That was my talent. You're gonna play soccer.
Wow. And so you went over there, you did schooling, you eventually finished school.
I didn't finish there.
Okay, you didn't finish.
Tuve que regresar.
Okay, but still, like, that aspect of your journey took you out there, and you experienced
and I loved it.
And you experienced it, you loved it, and then you come back, and I guess my curiosity is, what part of San Antonio did you like the most while you were there?
I lived in the medical center. Oh. So it was like super great. I mean, you don't want to go anywhere else. You have everything there. Yes. It's close to downtown. It's close to the attractions. Mm-hmm. Like, you're practically just in the center, más o menos, right? In the heart of, because you're on the side. So I lived in the medical center, right off the highway, left-hand side, behind the hospitals. I loved it.
It's funny, I lived there too when I was living over there.
Really?
Yes, I lived there for 4 years.
Sí me gustó como de repente que tenían fiesta. Like a couple of weeks ago, they had their celebration. Pero I lived in a good place.
And so, like, you're talking about fiesta, so you got to experience that.
Sí, también.
Okay, and so, like, that...
Con un noviecillo que traga.
But, like, you know, what do you feel, given that you experienced that, compared to the Valley? Like, is there something that just is very clearly different about, you know, Mexicanos de San Antonio y Mexicanos del Valle?
Yo creo que la única diferencia es que los que estamos en el Valle somos como 100% mexicanos. Like, our background is 100% Mexican. The majority of the Mexicans here. I'm not talking about people that have like Mexican backgrounds that were born here. I'm talking about the ones that are born in Mexico and then migrate. Allá son más pochos, ya no hablan tanto el idioma español. Aquí muchos no lo hablan. And I lived in Kansas City, Missouri. I lived in Chicago. I lived in LA. And the Mexicans, like, we are like, como si fuéramos Latinos. Even though we are Mexicans from the same country, we are so different in the language, in the way we carry on ourselves. Like, somos bien diferentes.
That's an interesting
It is interesting.
Insight, because that has been one of the biggest arguments in regards to Mexicanos. That, well, or Mexicanos y Latinos también.
Sí.
Los ponen juntos. They put them together, and they just kind of come at us like, like everybody should like hot Cheetos. Everybody loves Wonka Mercado.
No.
Da, 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 da. And it's like, that's not always the case.
No. I'm like,
no. And so I'm really interested in, okay, so you were traveling. So tell us what got you traveling all over the world, all over the U.S.
Well, I visited Russia with the gringos, right, with los anglos, pero no estaba en todo el mundo. Fíjate, al principio fue porque when I was playing soccer, we would go to different states to participate. When I moved back to the Valley, pues I stayed here. I started doing the teaching, certifications, and all that. I even went back to Donna, and I was like an assistant teacher, and I was doing a lot of stuff to become a teacher. I was at UTPA again, and I was in South Texas College, que no era STC, era STCC, Community College.
Yes, okay, yeah.
So, al último, me regresé de San Antonio porque me embaracé, me casé, me divorcié. I mean, everything.
Te divorciaste y tenías hijos. Te casaste, te divorciaste.
Sí, y fui madre por primera vez. Y sí, o sea, dije, ¿qué hago ahora? Like, what am I gonna do? So I was going through a tough situation. I had been married for only a year, and I said, you know what? I need to leave this relationship. I can't. I don't want to. I don't deserve this. I was married for a year, a complete year and a month, to a person. I can't say anything bad because he's the father of my daughter, pero no era una persona buena para mí. Sufrí violencia, sufrí golpes, sufrí abuso psicológico. And I don't think it was his fault. It was my fault too for letting it happen.
No.
Now,
No.
Well, I'm gonna tell you now, as of maybe 3 years ago, I started taking a course on human development. En español es desarrollo humano e inteligencia emocional, emotional intelligence maybe, or something like that. I don't know what.
That's a good translation.
I don't know how to translate.
I understand you.
But
that's a good translation.
that's what it is. That's what I have a certificate in. And it's inteligencia emocional y desarrollo humano. And I understood a lot of things. Yo sé que muchas veces las cosas que nos pasan no son nuestras culpas. A lot of the things that happen to us is not our fault. But when somebody's been abused, it's because we let it happen. I mean, at the beginning when you're abused, it's not your fault. When you let it continue, it is.
I think that's such a hard conversation to have because in my opinion, it wasn't your fault, period. Nothing like that should ever happen to a woman.
It shouldn't.
Nothing like that should ever happen to anyone in a romantic relationship. If the love is lost, the love is lost. Just end it.
And that's the hard part, Veronique. We thought we were in love, and he still bothers me once in a while. But I don't talk to him. I said, this is not a good relationship. I cannot deal with it. So I parted ways. If you want to see your daughter's here. I can't do much because the relationship is not with me. The relationship is with her now, and I mean, it is what it is, but it wasn't a good relationship.
I relate to what you're saying because I've been through it myself. And like, there are photos that I have a really hard time looking at because I had a gun put to the side of my head at like 3 a.m. I was asleep. That doesn't go away. Those things, and I tried so hard, like, before it got to that point, to be like, I forgive you, we're together, and this, and I thought, these are the things, like, you want to be the better person. You want to try to, like, salvage it, because a lot of the times you think, I've invested so much time in this love, in this relationship, in this life that we've built. And so I understand completely, like, it's just, you don't deserve
this is the way we are because of the situations that were, that happened before in our lives. Maybe that's why we relate, or, or the girls that we are a little stronger, a little more.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I wouldn't wish that kind of pain on anyone. And so, like, I get it. Like, sometimes we say what we need to say to cope. For me, I thought it was my fault.
No.
And I was like, I'm having to, like, this is what's sad is I had to have an entire career. And this is while I am building my music career, and people have no clue that I was dealing with emotional and physical abuse because my partner was not happy for me. Was so unhappy.
This guy was a narcissist, because that's who I was married to before. It was a narcissist.
No, yes, for reals. He
was a little
was.
psychopath too.
Yeah, no, like, I literally, like, unfortunately, me and the police know each other very well. Unfortunately, like like I hate it. Like I say hi to them. I've actually seen them. I told them thank you. Like, you know, and I know people have such a really complicated relationship with like reporting it. The wild thing is when things went down, I didn't even have time to report it because it was happening. Like I was fighting, like the fact that people are so unaware that I was fighting for my life, and like I never told a soul. Never told a soul.
But nobody could tell either. Because in my relationship, everybody saw it. Since the moment I got married, they're like, no te damos ni un año para que te quedes.
No. My parents were like, you're never getting married to that man. Like, mind you, estábamos comprometidos. So, and you know, I was engaged 3 times. I've mentioned it before. But, you know, it's so sad that like so many of them ended bad and only one of them ended nice. So it's so sad because a lot of the times you make decisions when you're lonely. And I just want to tell people, like, just seriously, like, this is really sensitive stuff. I want to just be super honest with y'all that if you're going through something, if something's happening, try to find a way to get out. Try to find a community of people that will help you get out. There's a lot of violence against women and violence against partners, really, that happens, that goes unsaid. And so I hope that, like, you know what, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm thriving. You know, I don't mention him, don't want to talk to any of the people that did the things that they did to me, will not give them a platform, let's be clear. It just won't happen because I am 10 times better than anything that they could ever be. But do I talk about it now and get a little emotional, like my chest tightens up? And how did you get through it? How did you get on the other side of it? Because for me, it was so hard.
For me too.
The fact that like my mothers didn't know. Like my mothers did not know at all. Like they knew something was going on, but once it became clear to them, eran como leonas.
Sí.
Like they were lions, they were in my corner, and they always have been. Love them with all my heart. Love the community that protected me alongside them. But what was it that allowed you to get on the other side?
Listen, I always knew it wasn't my fault. Like right now, you thought it was your fault. I always knew it wasn't my fault. I always knew there was something wrong with him. His mom, his sister, weren't like the best role models for him, or whatever he saw on the girls, it was just bad. So all the girls were the same. So he had a trauma. So I always stayed there because I loved him and I wanted to help him. And let's go to a psychologist, or let's go to, you know, like I always tried. So
you say, oh, this can get fixed with therapy.
Yes.
Oh, this can get fixed with this. Like there's so many options. Like you think, oh, like all of these things are gonna fix it.
And there was little red flags. Little red flags all the time. And I always said, it's okay. He's not gonna do it again. You know, like insulting me or shoving me, or, you know. So
belittling, like those.
Yes.
Shit.
That's why I asked you, was he like a narcissist? Because that's what I learned later. You know what? This guy was a narcissist. He didn't want you to grow. He wanted the attention for him. Well, make the long story short, my daughter is 6 months. We were at a graduation party at his house, and I wanted to go home. It was 2-3 in the morning. It was in May. So I was like, I want to go home. And he's like, just leave for a little bit and then we'll go. So I went inside that house that we were at, and I slept for a little bit, and I was like, I need to go. My daughter hasn't eaten, you know, like we need to go. So on the way home, he started like being jealous just because he was so jealous. But this is a thing, Veronique. He was not jealous before. We were boyfriend and girlfriend. He wasn't jealous. We will go clubbing, like everything was just normal. When I married him, and this is when I'm saying that his traumas kicked in, because he believed that all girls were like bitches or unfaithful, or, you know, like he did a lot of crazy stuff that I found out later to like the previous girlfriends or whatever that I didn't know. And that's because my ex-suegra told me, this is what, and I'm like, what? And you like, no.
Como dijiste, no manches.
Sí, como, pues she didn't have to tell me either, pero no sé si se sintió mal por mí, because she's a girl too, and at the end she's like, Denisse, this is what's happening. Pero at the end of the day, Íbamos en camino y me golpeó. Me dio un trancazo. We got home and I said, you need to leave. You need to leave. You can't stay here. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'm not. And I try to go back with the guy. Like, we try to fix things. Maybe having another kid. No, I thank God that it didn't happen because it would have been crazy.
And it goes back to sometimes the person being hurt thinks that they're the ones causing the hurt. So if I could like me, like that happened to me, push me down a flight of stairs, same person that put a gun to the side of my head, pushed me down a flight of stairs, like, and spit on me while I was on the floor. And I was like, what did I do? What did I do wrong?
No.
Like, and a lot of the times it's just not. And then you go back and they're like, oh, pues es pendeja for going back. And it's like, unfortunately, the term rose-colored glasses kicks in full effect because you can't imagine that the person you started to love, the person who you fell for, all red flags aside, you fell for them, you were with them, can be that like es todo un monstruo. And like, unfortunately, like as time has gone on and I've grown up and I've experienced healthy, loving relationships, I realized that was I only hope that people will have healthy, loving relationships. I wish that for everyone because then you know what the flags are and you will never be less and you will never take less. But it took me being in, it sucks. It took me being in shitty relationships and suffering y poniéndome en sufriendo así todos los veces, todos los tiempos to unfortunately just be so sick and tired of it that I just let myself be lonely. Like I was like, oh, no one's gonna love me. No one's gonna accept me for who I am. And I finally was just like, I get it. It's hard. I know people find it so difficult to understand. Why would you stay in the abuse? It's not staying in the abuse. It is literally a response to the trauma. Like you can't, like you think that maybe it was in your head, like even though it's like some people it's physically on them, some people like it happened.
Es que sí me quiere, pero ¿sabes por qué? Porque nos trauman y también nos manejan. They're good at that. Because we're good people, like we still believe in love. So they manipulate you. And they feel like they're the victims. And then you believe that, si tú me quieres, tú haces esto. It happened to me that way.
Yeah.
Yo te digo, yo sabía que no era mi culpa, pero él va a cambiar, es que él me quiere. Te madreo, pero te quiero. No, pendejo, tú no me quieres. No te quieres a ti. When you find your worth, that's when you let the good come in. Mm-hmm. And to me, I am grateful, forever grateful. I have a man that respects me, that values me. And at the beginning, to me, it was a conflict that he loved his mom so much. But I learned that the way you treat your mom is the way you're going to treat your wife. Y eso no lo vi antes.
Okay. Yeah.
Él faltaba respeto a su mamá.
Sí,
Entonces,
and you know what's crazy? Mine did too. The ones that were really wild. Yep.
Entonces, girls, guys, if you want to impress a girl, treat your mom right. But girls, that's something that you gotta look at. Si tú ves que a otras mujeres les falta respeto, ¿qué te hace pensar a ti que a ti te va a respetar? I mean, a man can only be a man if he treats his similars in a good way. I'm talking about girls and guys. Si trata bien a las personas, te va a tratar bien a ti. Pero I'm thankful because I found this guy and he was my main support, going back to the question. I think my family wasn't my biggest support. And I'll tell you why. Because my mom, being a Mexican, and being like an old school, and she would see me suffering porque yo lloraba por mi ex-marido. And it wasn't that I missed him. It was like you said, the situation. Like
you're mourning the death of you're mourning. Here's what happened with me is I got so depressed that and mind you, I was depressed from the situation, from the trauma, from the pain, from the abuse, that I was mourning the loss of the person. Like it is a living death. It's a living death. It's someone dying in front of you, but they don't ever die.
Yeah.
So the person that was there no longer exists, will never exist, is gone. And that was so difficult for me. I was in bed for days. My mom would be like, "Ándale sol." Like she would open the blinds because it was just like I stayed in the room. It was dark. I started drinking really heavy.
But I had a daughter, a 6-month daughter. You didn't.
Oh no, I didn't. So
I did.
I got to throw myself in it, and it was bad. Like I'm not even gonna say, like, the fact that, you know, you had to look past that because you had a child. You had a child, and not saying look past the trauma.
No, it was there.
Look past, like, sitting in the pity and the sadness, and so.
But it happened. I went through depression, and my mom told me, "Mijita, si lo extrañas, regrésate con él." Your own mother, after seeing they got a freaking black eye, after seeing all this stuff, after being insulted by him, telling you, "Mija," like. Quiero entender. Like, I just want to believe that it was her love as a mother speaking. She didn't really mean for me to go back. That's what I want to think and I want to believe. It was her seeing my suffering, that she didn't want to see me in that situation, that carried her to tell me that. That's what I want to see. Because my own mother would tell me, "Hija, regresate con él." I was like, "Mom," and I told her, "Mom, tú no me puedes estar diciendo esto. Mamá, tú me tienes que decir, no, levántate la chingada, ponte busa, ahí está tu hija, y vámonos, hay más hombres." My mom never said that. My mom, and it was hard for my partner, my new husband, to pass all that, porque para mi familia, sobre todo mi mamá, mi papá, te amo, a ti también, mami, te amo, pero mi papá no se mete en pedos. Mi papá sí me dijo, "Had you told me that he'd hit you, I don't even talk to him anymore." Porque mi papá días después todavía lo fue a llevar a su casa. I mean, you know. So, mi papá dijo, "Porque si ni yo les pego, ¿por qué va a venir otro hombre a golpear a mis hijas?" I felt so sad for my dad. Like, it was, you know, he's a man. And I never saw that at home. Why would I let somebody else do that? Mm-hmm. And so, months passed by, and I told God, because I wanted to die. I was like, there's no reason for me to be here. Like, I was depressed. I was in a situation where he psychologically owned me. Nobody cared for me. I wasn't gonna find anyone. I was trash. I lived in a trailer. I mean, I was the worst thing that a girl or a person could be. I was at my lowest when I told God, if I do have a reason to be here, then let me believe that, you know, there's somebody out there. And I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about my daughter. That's who brought me out of my darkness. But I told him, because they asked me that. They're like, "¿Tú no quieres creer en el amor otra vez?" I'm like, I just, you know, I'm going through a separation here. So no. But I met this one guy, which is my husband. And he was like, "Estás bien bonita." And I'm like, whatever. I didn't even think, Veronique, that I was pretty, you know? Like, yeah. I was so young.
I laugh at what you're saying, because that was me after that. Like, despite how much love I gave out, I'm kind. I'm kind and I'm flirty. I'm sorry, okay? Like, I just am.
It is my nature.
It is my nature. Pero the words after that, after the amount of trauma I went through, just felt so flat. Like, it felt like...
There's no meaning.
No, because it feels like a game.
Yeah.
Like, if he says the same shit that the last dude said, I'm not gonna believe him either. So me vale madre. But, which is so bad to say, but it's the truth. Like, I just stopped giving a shit. And it's interesting that we talk about this, because I'm curious what your thoughts are when it comes to, like, it sucks, but sometimes we attract things because we're at a certain point in our lives, and then when we move past that point, we attract the things that we actually wanted. It's just, unfortunately, our brains are so immature que we attract, a veces, like, it's like teaching us, pero a veces I don't want to learn that lesson.
Sí. You want to go back to it.
Yeah, like, desafortunadamente, I didn't want to learn that, pero, like, do you believe in that? Do you believe that once you finally moved yourself out of the unloved space, the space that even, like, couldn't self-love, couldn't look in the mirror and say, I know who that woman is and I love her. Like, once you looked in the mirror, like, what was that moment like?
Well, I totally agree with what you said. That you no lo pudiste decir en mejores palabras. The self-love. When you're in that situation, you don't, words are just words. Y se las lleva el viento, como decimos. It took me over a year to realize that I was worth. It took me over 3 years to get a divorce. So Te digo, mi esposo fue bastante apoyo, porque te digo, mi mamá era que sí, regrésate, tienes que aguantar, mija, tienes que aguantar, you know, I'm like, no way, especially not for your mom, because you don't ever, you know, tú no te aguantas nada, so I was like, no, entonces, mi esposo empezó a decirme que estaba bonita, que esto, que lo otro, que no me preocupara. He didn't say, me voy a casar contigo, no, it wasn't like that, it was like, tú estás bien, tú no, como que tienes problemas. My ex will be on the line. Y una vez fue tanto yo estaba casi llorando. ¿Por qué me tratas así? Toda pendeja, todavía le contestaba, Veronique.
Trust me, I have done that too. It's okay. It's okay. You're in a space of pendejada.
Sí. que una vez él agarró el teléfono y dijo, ¿sabes qué? Yo no sé quién eres, no te conozco, pero lo que sí sé es que tienes una hija. ¿Quieres hacerte cargo de tu hija? Busca a tu hija. Denisse ya no estaba para ti y deja de molestarla. I'm in love. I have, you know, quiero esta protección para mí. And then, ya cuando él me decía algo, yo sentía bonito. Yo sentía como que, ¿sabes qué? Sí. Yo tenía 3 trabajos to provide for my daughter. And I wasn't making like $3. I was making good money. So yo no, como dije al principio, like, it's not that we need a man, we choose to be with a man. So I said, you know what, Denisse? You are worth it, you know? So when we change that mentality, when we know our worth, when we love ourselves,
it makes it so hard for pendejos like that to come into the space.
I know.
It makes it so hard.
Y no va a venir mierda. La mierda la trajiste porque quisiste, because you said it. You're immature. No puedes pensar bien.
No nomás eso, pero como estamos viendo todas las cosas en las novelas. Voy a traerlo para atrás. Vemos cosas en las novelas, que el amor es difícil, debes de quedarte ahí, como te dijo tu mamá. Y cuando lo piensas, lo que vemos en la televisión, lo que vemos en, tú sabes, novelas o cine, todo eso le da una mentalidad de amor que en verdad no es correcto, no es la verdad. Solo lo que te pregunto a ti es que ¿en qué manera ves tú el amor?
El amor empieza por uno. Like, it starts with you. If you reflect on the mirror and you say, I love that person for who she is or for who he is or for whatever reason, and it's more than just physical. Like, this is your essence, like I told you. We have an essence. Tienes una alma. I mean, I don't know what you believe in, right? But we have a soul, and that's what you got to take care of. Like, you got to protect that. I tell my kids, I have 2 boys and a girl, and I tell my boys, guys, you better be nice to girls, because you are raised in a family where we don't disrespect anyone. So si tú quieres andar de canijo con una niña picando aquí, picando allá, you respect yourself first. Las niñas ahorita están bien despiertas. Like, oh my God, I've seen 6th graders, like, all over boys. And I tell my boys, you respect you, right? So to answer the question, how do I see love? It comes from within. And you cannot give what you don't have.
Pero crees que
yo creo en el amor.
Las novelas es puro. No, pero crees ahorita como en este momento de tu vida, ya haciendo toda la cosa, que crees que en tu mente que estabas como tantito en pues sí es difícil porque tú sabes, todo lo que he veído es que el amor es difícil.
El amor no es difícil. El amor no es difícil.
El amor verdad no.
No, el amor no tiene por qué ser difícil. Por eso te digo, tú no puedes dar algo que no tienes. So if you don't love yourself, you cannot give love. You cannot say, I'm in love with this person when you can't even love yourself. That's what I'm saying. Sí, calenturiento, lust. So, empieza por dentro, empieza desde acá, desde ti, desde tu alma, desde tu ser interior. So, de novelas, ¿qué te enseñan? El rico con el pobre se chinga, no agarra a nadie. It's BS. Like, there is people that may be very humble economically, but can, like, give you more than you can ever think of. Porque el amor no nada más es el dinero. Las novelas te enseñan eso. Cásate con el rico.
Eso que es lo que te dicen. Cásate con el rico y tú sabes.
Vas a estar bien feliz.
No más eso, pero no eso. Es like the narrative underneath that. Not the, cásate con el rico, marry the rich guy, and you'll be taken care of, you'll live happily ever after. A good example is Mariela del Barrio.
Oh, yeah.
She should have divorced his ass.
A long time ago.
No, like straight up, the moment he was acting a damn fool, she should have literally I think she did almost get another dude. Like, she should have gone with him. Like, screw that dude. Porque, en verdad,
Pero ahora lo dices porque ya estamos más maduras. Sí. Antes, en las relaciones, ahí estábamos de mensas.
Sí, pero eso es lo que estoy diciendo, que ves cosas representando
Yeah, because they're portraying that. Like, they're portraying, and you think, oh, it's good.
El amor.
Sí,
y cuando lo ves, es como, no. And it was, a lot of the times we say, well, love is difficult. Life is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Love is hard. No, we say that. Like,
yeah, I know, I'm like, don't.
No. And at the end of the day, when you experience life contentment, you don't have to be
worrying about anything.
No. Contentment is so different. When you understand how to be content in life, not that, pues yo quiero esto.
Por eso digo, tú no tienes nada de qué preocuparte. Tú no te preocupas porque aquel trae un carro, el otro se fue con... You don't.
Because you're content in your life. And when you find contentment and you know how to be happy in that, everything else starts happening. And I love the fact that, like, there's more people that find it early on, like find it younger, because then their 30s are going to be great. Their 40s are going to be great. Like, once they get past la pobreza de los 20.
Sorry.
se van de la pobreza de los 20. Sí. Let's just be clear. Whoever said that the 20s were fun, nah, because we're poor.
Sí.
So, we're poor. You're listening to the Accordion to Me podcast, made possible by listeners like you, rating and reviewing the pod. All you have to do is leave some stars and a quick blurb about what you enjoy about the Accordion to Me podcast. It helps the algorithm gods raise us to higher heights. We are all cogs in the machine of the algorithm gods. Make us go to number 1. Leave a review, damn it. Resistance is futile. Wait, what? You found your partner, you found this sense of contentment, this sense of fulfillment in yourself and in your personal life. Then what happened?
Then I started doing radio, and we were in that question that how did I travel all the states?
Yeah.
Cuando estaba jugando, pues iba a diferentes estados. Después, en el verano que me fui a la escuela y regresé, I went to work for the summer in Kansas City. And since my brother and sister were there, se me hizo más fácil quedarme y estar un más largo tiempo. So I started, I lived there for a little longer period of time. I was just going for a couple of weeks. Me quedé un poquito más. So I come back to the and I was like, no, hombre, está bien. Gracias a que me estaba separando, a todo ese pedo que pasé y que estaba en depresión mayor, a friend of mine's like, Denisse, let's go to a concert. And I'm like, no, hombre, yo no quiero, no tengo ganas de salir a ningún pinche lado. But she was going through a hard time too. And being the friend that we are, right? Con todo el corazón, le dije, mira, voy a ir just because I feel what you're going through. Like, I'm devastated, pero voy a ir. And honestly, yo estaba enojada, iba como con la cara larga. But I was like, I'm going to try, for my friend to have a good time. Su esposo le acaba de ser infiel, pero ella de las que perdonaba. I'm like, bueno, ni modo.
At that point, just have an open marriage.
Sí, pues sí.
Pues sí,
it works. I mean, te perdió que ya sepas, en vez de que andes llorando cada que te encuentras. Pero anyway, so I go to the concert, and they're like, hey, I have a friend that went to school with you. I'm like, really? And he was in the engineering department with me. So me dijo, ¿cómo estás? Mira, que no sé qué. Yo, muy bien, vine con una amiga. ¿Qué crees? Me pregunta este muchacho, because he heard me speak, que si nunca has pensado en ser locutora. I'm like, no, I'm a teacher. I was teaching. No, hombre, dice que vayas. So I got introduced to this guy, and I ended up doing radio. So no tenía nada de experiencia. Tenía 3 meses en radio. Todavía estaba con lo del divorcio, digo, y todo ese rollo. My daughter was already going on 3. Y me dicen, ¿te vas a ir? Sí. So estaba 3 meses en radio y me hablan de Austin. Hey, have you ever thought about going to Chicago? We have a morning show spot and we want to, present it to you, like the offer. And I'm like, ¿cuánto cobro, güey? Tengo 3 meses ganando $10. ¿Qué voy a pedir? And déjame te digo, ganar $10 back then was a lot.
Yes.
Porque ahorita todavía que $7.25 or $7.50 the minimum wage. Well, I was doing $10. And
this was around what year? Just so that
I want to say
context on the
2007.
Price. Yeah. Yeah, $10 an hour. Yeah, that's...
Because the minimum back then was like $5.25.
Yeah, minimum back then was $5.25.
Y te digo, ya cuando entré a radio, dejé mis otros trabajos, because I was...
It's a lot. It's a very long schedule. It's a lot. I tried it for 3 months.
Y dijiste ya no.
Well, it's funny because I just didn't...
We have a lot of things in common.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, sí. Chócala, Veronique.
Well, here's the thing is people, if anybody remembers, I was on the midnight rotations. That's more the reason why, because I was told I would get moved out of midnight into the daytime hours. And
but you have to start there.
Yeah, and I had to start there, and I was cool with it. Pero por 3 meses, I'm like, bro, this is too much. Like,
what was your schedule? I was 7 to 12.
No, I was midnight. I was the midnight.
12 to 5.
Yes. Y eso
Te mata.
Te mata, because you're going home when the sun is coming up. And that felt like it was just a rough schedule. And I just kept getting told, oh, yeah. Mind you, I wasn't even supposed to get into radio. So for anyone that remembers, there was a disc jockey from 12 to 5 who was called DJ Harley Quinn. And that was me on the radio.
Cool.
for casi 3 meses, that was me on the radio, and I was working, I was doing that. But when I got hired as an ad voice. So I was supposed to do all
like
the
voiceovers
for the ads, and then they're like, okay, so we hired you for this, but we're really not going to use you for that. Y eso's on the first red flag. For me, I was like, okay, well, and then they put me on the radio, and then they had gotten upset because, again, I had never been like that style. I had done radio at the college, but that's not the same. No es lo mismo pa nada. Like there's breaks, there's bumpers, there's a whole bunch of things you have to know. A big, like, to you, porque en verdad se me fue. I have ADD. No, I'm gonna press something wrong. I'm gonna do something wrong. So eso es lo que pasó. And like, I learned a lot. I appreciate radio people a lot, and I tell them all the time, like, look, I understand what you're going through, but let's be clear with me. Especially now as an artist, I tell people, look, just be clear with me. Just tell me what actually can happen and what can't happen. I understand what you're talking about. No me creas mensa. And so I did that, and I was like, ay Dios. So I left. I left after that. I didn't go back. I was a freelance journalist for a little while, and you know, it was just that. So just FYI to anyone that remembers me on the radio, that was what I was. And people still hear my some of my commercial work, because I still do commercials. But so you were getting this job, $10 an hour. So then what?
And then I was there for 3 months, right? So we get a big event. Mm-hmm. I was already in radio. Those 3 months I was in radio. We had a big event, a festival. And since I was a new one, a mí me traían como sonsa. And then 15 years later, they still do the same thing. But, sí, le digo, oye, cabrón, al principio era porque era la rookie, ahora porque soy la okay. Pero bueno, that happened, and there was the fest. They're like, Denisse, you got to go out there and promote the event. And I'm like, okay. My shift was 7 to 12, 7 at night to 12 midnight. Mm-hmm. It was 8 in the morning, and I was already working. And I would do this every day for the morning show. Like, it was like a radio patrol. I would go out on the streets. A veces había gente construyendo algún edificio, and I would take them taquitos or coffees, because we had sponsors. I would provide that. Oh, and it's a great idea, Mr. Mario Avila. Pero, ¿sabes? Hacíamos eso, so I was like, okay, pues I'll go. And I remember it was at era un antro de aquí, un club, like a nightclub from here, that we did that festival. It was for over 2,000-3,000 people. And since the morning, 8 o'clock, I'm like, hey, vente para acá, a través de la ley. Me llamaban La Peligrosa antes. So it was in La Ronca all the time. I got La Ronca once I was in Chicago. So it was La Peligrosa te invita, La Peligrosa te invita. The guy that we were throwing the festival for started hearing my voice. Mm-hmm. And he got there, the festival started at 5. So yo andaba más ronca que hoy. Like, todo el día en el solazo y con agua helada, you know mix of temperatures don't get along well.
No,
so cuando llegó, I was like out there going to the restroom, and I hear, ¿Dónde está la peligrosa? ¿Quién es la peligrosa? Quiero que venga al stage. The guy was on stage. So they're like, ¿te están hablando? And I'm like, oh, really? So corro para el stage. And there was another coworker, very pretty girl up to this day, super great body, facial features like como muñequita Veronique. La piel blanca, ni una espinilla, la naricita respingada.
Mira, tienes buen cuerpo, no chingues.
No, I'll show you that girl. I mean, esa muchachita estaba bien guapa. Bien guapa. Y lo que le sigue. So she's like, I see her on stage. Quiero que me subas contigo. Yo, sí, pues era mi compañera. I'm like, let's come up here. And the guy's like, no, muchas gracias, que la ra. Y agradezco a la peligrosa y su compañera, yeah. So the guy was there for like 20 minutes. We made a big event for like I said, 3,000 people for over 6 hours para que en 20 minutos se fuera. He was out of Austin. Y cuando se estaba yendo, me da su tarjeta y me dice, I want you in my team. And I was like, he doesn't. Y mi amiguita es like, me llamo Veronique, por favor, llévame a mí. Okay.
That was not her name, y'all.
Yeah, it wasn't. I was just making it up. I'm trying to cover it up.
Exist at the time. I was still in high school.
Hey, no, you were
know that at that time.
Veronique, you were probably like in elementary.
2007. I graduated high school in 2009.
Okay. So you're like in 10th grade.
Yeah, I was in 10th grade.
Yo ya tenía 23 años. I'm like, yo ya tenía 23 años.
Okay.
So anyway, the guy's like, está bueno. And then my coworkers, they're like, he's not going to call you. I'm like, es que me ofreció trabajo. He's not going to call you. I was like, está bueno. 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from this one guy. His name is Joaquin Garcia. And I was like, ¿quién es Joaquin Garcia?
That name sounds real.
It's El Chulo. He's El Chulo. He's the one that was in the morning show. He's the one that offered me to go with them. So cuando me dice, te hablaron, and I told my coworkers, he didn't. I'm like, he did. He's asking me to go to Chicago.
Otro locutor de
I'm like, ¿cómo crees? I'm like, yeah, ¿cuánto cobro? And they're like, I don't know, pregunta como unos $60,000. 2007. 23 years old. Yo no sabía cuánto era ese dinero. I'm like, bueno. So he's like, can you send your resume? I didn't have a resume. I was like, no tengo uno, no te preocupes. ¿Cuánto quieres ganar? Ay, no sé, porque la verdad que me va muy bien aquí. Güey, trabajaba 10 horas. Y me dice, ¿qué te parecen $60,000? Let me think about it.
So what's funny here is I'm sure he's thinking you're playing hardball, pero tú estás ahí como.
I really wanted to go. No, I wasn't sure.
No. You weren't
sure. I wasn't sure. I was scared.
That too, but like he thinks you're playing hardball. Like all of this conversation sounds like, oh, I'm playing hardball, quiero más dinero. Pero that's not.
No, that wasn't the case. I was just. I was in shock.
Mira, we'll call El Chulo right now and ask for.
We can.
For the story. Yes, we can.
Tengo su número. Yo tengo su número.
We'll be like, you are on the Accordion TV pod. We want verification.
You know, one of these days you should get him on a call. Get him on a Zoom interview. He's such a great person. Back then, para mí era un poco estricto, un poco hasta harassing, like como que te harassment, you know, like viví un poco de harassment, not because he was like sexual harassment, but it was an environment very, very heavy. ¿Por qué? Porque teníamos que, we deal with a lot of artists, and it wasn't like local bands, it was big name bands in the original Mexican. Pues, total que me fui a Chicago. Le dije, ok. Dijo, bueno, si no quieres 60, te vamos a dar $5,000 más. Tienes 2 semanas de hotel y tienes el avión. Ok. And my dad's like, mijita, ¿para dónde vas? Que está muy frío allá. Pero él lo decía, Veronique, porque
está demasiado frío, ¿dónde vas?
Ajá. Pero yo creo que él lo estaba diciendo, porque yo, acuérdate, vengo de una relación de abuso, mi hija está pequeña, apenas estoy creciendo y conociéndome más. Yo creo que él me quería proteger,
sí,
¿sabes?
¿cómo no?
Como cualquier papá que te quiere proteger. Entonces, ya fue lo que dije, papi, it's not like, no, I'm not questioning or asking for permission. I'm leaving, because at that time they lived in my house. So, te quedas en la casa, yo me voy. Te encargo a mi hija, al rato vengo por ella. I gotta go check it out. I'm gonna see what's going on.
Which is fair. Like, it's so fair to go check it out, figure out if that's worth it before.
Pero coming from a family like mine, que era muy family oriented, mis papás nunca se separaron, ¿sabes? Nunca, ¿cómo ibas a dejar a tu hija de 3 años con tus abuelitos? I know there's kids and families that the grandparents take care of them and that they were raised by the grandparents. Not in my case. Mi mamá y mi papá siempre estuvieron ahí. No teníamos el lujo de ir a un daycare tampoco. Y eso yo lo sigo con mis hijos, Veronique. Tengo una hija de 19 años. Si estuvo en daycare algún mes o dos, fue mucho. Nunca. Siempre la cuidamos yo, mi esposo. Porque mi esposo me conoció con ella cuando mi hija tenía 2 años. Pero total que me fui. Las 2 semanas me las pagaron. Yo no tenía más que $40 en mi bolso. $40 and a $100 coat that my dad had bought me at Burlington. Un coat para que no me diera frío.
Mira, Burlington Coat Factory, gracias.
Sí, si quieres sponsor us, paso por tu cheque. Pasas por tu cheque. No iba a decir el nombre, pero bueno, ya fui.
No.
Pero sí.
It's just so funny. Finally, someone talks about Burlington Coat Factory for a coat.
Pero sí, fue lo único que me llevé. El abrigo que mi papá me regaló y los $40 en mi bolsa. So those first 2 weeks, they don't pay you. Se quedan en depósito. Se me acabaron las 2 semanas del hotel y yo dije, ¿cómo me voy? Y me acuerdo que the program director, his name is Cheque Ezequiel, he was like, Denisse, te admiro. Tus compañeros no están aquí y no los conoces. Like, you don't even know these people. Like, how would you leave everything behind and come, to an adventure? Because that's what it was. To him, I'm like, no, I'm serious. I want this to work out. It's, a job. And I'm trying to do better. Yo no tenía idea, güey, lo que era Chicago. Yo vivía en el centro. Estaba en el programa número 3 nacional de español. National. Mira.
Oh.
But I didn't know back then. The
Innately you knew. Innately you knew it wasn't just a job. You were building a career.
I didn't know back then.
No. You didn't know.
No, I didn't.
Like, it wasn't top of mind, but when, just the things that you were doing, you wanted to do better. This was bringing you joy. You wouldn't have taken the risk if it didn't bring you some kind of joy, I hope. No sé.
No sé.
I mean, I don't know now. Maybe I'm just talking out of my butt. But, I'm just saying, it's clear that you were building a career. You were building it. It was happening. In the back. Maybe
I was going to say that. Maybe I didn't know.
Estaba soñando. Sí, $1,000,000.
Estaba poniendo ese brick.
Sí.
Yeah. But I didn't know consciously, yo no sabía que iba a ser lo que ahora soy. Porque después de ahí, yo tuve que terminar con mi pareja. Mi esposo, we were like, pues, si tú no te puedes venir para acá y yo no quiero estar allá contigo, I want better. Entonces, no vamos a estar juntos. Pues, he got a 6-month permit and he got to go to Chicago and marry me. Traveled 40-some hours. Y no me casé de volada. Me casé como 6 meses después. 8 meses después.
Look, he has a 6-month thing. He'll be fine.
Sí. Aquí que se quede.
He got married on the last day of the 6th month.
a little earlier. Pero sí me casé con él en Chicago. Nadie fue testigo. We had no witnesses. It was just the judge and him and I. That's it. Not even co-workers, nothing. Y me dice ahora todavía, después de 14 años que estamos casados legalmente, why did I sign those papers? Tú me dijiste que dijera, yes, I do. Pero yo pensé que íbamos a sacar furniture, que íbamos a sacar because we lived in a little apartment downtown, pero no teníamos ni donde dormir. Dormíamos en el piso. Lo primero que compré fue cobijas y después fue un colchón inflable, 2 inflatables. But before he got there, porque fue después, te digo que se me acabó lo de los 2 semanas del hotel. No sabía dónde irme, porque no tenía dinero. Y esas 2 semanas yo comía con ellos porque ellos me pagaban el lonche. Like, they're such a gentleman. They're like, no voy a dejar que tú pagues. Y yo, So 2 weeks after that, me fui a vivir con uno de ellos. Y yo decía, my gosh, dale tu cuarto, le decía el chulo a Raúl, que yo creo que me va a ver ahorita y a escuchar. He was like, ¿te quieres dormir en el cuarto? No, Raúl, you can take your room. I'll sleep in the living room. Y yo me quedaba en el couch y tenía una lámpara. Yo decía, donde se quiera propasar, yo le doy un putazo con la lámpara. That was my, yo me dormía pensando en eso.
I shit you not. It's funny. I only laugh because I literally have gone through the same thing. Like, we as women, when we travel, when we spend the night somewhere, especially, doesn't matter if it's with the same sex or the opposite sex, does not matter. Like, unfortunately, we all have like this, like, like safety mechanism. I don't know if everyone has it. Maybe not everyone has it.
No, I think everybody has it, but not everybody develops it. Porque hay gente que es bien chill. Like, they don't care. They're so, like, y nosotros como que defiende el mecanismo pero sí, y después de eso estuve ahí como 2 semanas, agarré mi primer cheque y le dije al chavo, I'll tell you how much my check was back then. Y era el primero, yo, my gosh, is that what I've been making? Eran como $5,000 take home. Ahorita no los gano.
Chihuahua.
Pero eran $5,000 y te digo, yo tenía 24 años.
That's a lot of money at 24.
So it was a lot of money for me. Y luego yo hacía voiceovers y hacía esto y hacía lo otro. So yo estaba haciendo $100,000 como si nada, con 24 años y sin una carrera universitaria, because I did not finish my teaching certification. Nada más terminé mis horas y eso, pero no hice el state exam. Me decían, tienes 2 años para hacerlo. Well, no, I didn't want to. I was already ready. Ya andaba en todas partes. Después de ahí quedamos como el número 1, el programa número 1. No, before I go to that. Después de esas 2 semanas que dormí con el otro y que agarré con el otro no, en su casa. Y que agarré mi primer cheque, fui a buscar un departamento. So while I was looking for an apartment and signing up the leases and all that, y como tenía 24 años, no me la querían soltar así como que así. Me dormí en el carro. Esto nunca lo había platicado en ningún lugar. I slept in not my car, like in somebody else's car. Los de mi trabajo, they didn't even know. They didn't even know I was sleeping in their car. Siempre les decía, ¿me puedes prestar tu carro? A Raúl, más que nada. Yeah, sure. Y yo me quedaba a dormir en la cochera. En la cochera. Y ellos no sabían, en la mañana te lo traigo. So en la mañana, como trabajamos bien temprano, llegaba y nos íbamos, dejamos el carro y nos íbamos en taxi al trabajo. It was like a 5-10 minute drive. Pero me dormía en el carro.
I remember doing the same thing. I was living in San Antonio the first time, and like I was couch surfing and whatever, and like people didn't know that and this was around 2016. So like the first time I went over there, I was like, I had this little vibe. It's like a Pontiac vibe, and I call it like my little troquita because it's not a truck, mind you. Like you look at it and it's like, it's not a truck. It's this little tiny car.
Like a crossover?
Yes,
in
like
between?
A crossover. It's literally a little crossover, and I was sleeping in there. So I would take like, no sé cómo se dicen, but I would take like cowboy showers where it's like,
sí, como baño vaquero, que nomás los...
Baño vaquero. I knew what that was. I was doing it. You know, my parents, like because it was my first time going to San Antonio and living out there, because it happened twice. The second time I was living somewhere, had a place, had a room. It was a little bit better. But the first time I was pretty much practically living in my car. Pero I was so proud. And not just because like, whatever, like, it was my first time out on my own in a bigger city. So ahí estaba yo, and I totally understand. Like, ahí con el baño vaquero, and you're like you double check just in case. And you're existing, and it's like when you live in your car, you feel bad, you just do, because of course you
don't want that for yourself.
No, you don't want that for yourself, but at the same time, like for me, I'm like, well, at any point I can just go wherever the hell I want in my
Pero
car.
era tu carro, el mío no era ni mío.
Ay.
It was their car.
And so you were living in their car. They didn't know.
For a couple of nights, I did. I spent a night in their car. They didn't know. And then finally, I got a lease. So I lived there for about a year until they asked us if we wanted to move to LA. Porque quedamos como el show número 1 en español in Chicago. So my boss said yes. He goes, how much you want to move? And I'm like, oh, you're going to give me a raise? That's so cool. So they offered me like 15 grand on top of the 65. So I was like, sure, 80. At this point, I already had my daughter and my husband, because I married in like August and we moved in December. So me moví para California, nos pagaron el transporte también. There was the furniture and all that. And we started in January, and that's when I started up a lease again. So for a couple of weeks, I was in a hotel. Pero creo que mi trabajo me ha llevado muchas cosas, not just physically, like emotionally, I don't want to say imaginary because I don't want you to think that I'm crazy, but like mentally, yeah. I mean,
emotionally, mentally.
Radio is just a whole different world. than TV, because I've done TV. It's something that I see me doing forever. Maybe not forever, right? Because it's gonna be an age when you gotta retire. But I see me in the industry. Like, I see myself doing voiceovers or commercials or Facebooks or, podcasts, anything that's related to.
I mean, Chulo isn't retired. He's in Iowa. Like,
he's in Sioux City. Yeah, he's in Sioux City.
So he hasn't retired. So you don't have to retire.
He bought, but Chulo bought a radio station and he lives there. I don't know if if I really wanted to, probably so I could buy one. Porque todo es posible. We are son of God. So that means you have the same power. Get that in here. That I learned in meditation. Some people think it's bad. Some people, can relate. Yeah. But I believe that we can do anything that we desire. And so with that in mind,
you moved a lot of places.
I've moved a lot of places. And I've grown. And
so it's interesting because you're saying, it changed the way you are mentally. It's changed the way you are physically. It's changed the way you are spiritually. It's affected all these things.
Every single part of my,
every single part of yourself. But let's go back to the fact that all of these changes allowed you to see Mexicanos in such a different way. Like you weren't stuck in the valley bubble. You got to expand and grow yourself. And so if anyone understands how complex Mexicanos are in relation to Latinos, it's you. And so what is something that you've taken away from your travels and working in radio in Texas, in Chicago, in all these different markets? Like, what's something that, they're constantly trying to market to us? They're all constantly trying to make us simple. And in your mind...
That's a tough question.
Well, I really would love for you to just, really expand on that, because I think if anyone has that vision to understand it and be able to speak it, it's you, because you have worked in all these different markets. Not many radio people can say they've worked in 3 separate, highly populous Mexican markets.
I'll tell you one thing, and there's people that kind of give prompts to me because, that's good, Denisse, and some people may hate it. Latinos and Mexicans, we tend to be, most of us, not everybody, victims. And I see this in LA a lot. Chicago, it wasn't as bad, but in LA, I did see it. And Chicago people are just humble and with a great heart. They're always willing to help. And I'm telling you, I met people from Zacatecas, from Querétaro, mainly Zacatecas, in the northern area, and todos los distritos afuera. Because Chicago is just the city, and not a lot of Mexicans live there. I was, I guess, entitled, per se, pero por las circunstancias, no porque tuviera el dinero. It was expensive to live there, and you don't see a lot of Mexicans in there. You have to have a
like
good...
when I met Omi, who...
Oh my God, I love him. Omar, te mando un abrazo. Tú sabes que yo soy tu comadre y te quiero. I do know him.
And I met him at
was it Las Vegas?
Yes, I met him at Las Vegas at Promotores Unidos, and it was just random. Like I just met him. He was part of a group of people, and I met him through Jerry Basua, and there was a whole group of folks, and all of us were there. But it was so easy to talk to Omi.
Yeah.
So easy to talk to him. And then when it came time to work with him, which is the song that you guys got to check out on the air, that just happened so naturally, because I was like, pues, Gene, I want a banda song. And so I immediately remembered Omi, messaged him, y boom, pas, there was the song.
Bueno, así como Omi, es toda la gente. Okay. Y Omi es del sur. Omi es como de Michoacán, por allá. Pero así como Omi, así es toda la gente. La gente que yo conviví, con la que te escuchaba, con la que te convivías en los eventos. Así como Omi. And that's a good thing, because that's what you want at the end of the day.
That's what you want in your corner.
Sí, that's what you want.
Someone like that fighting in your corner.
Pero en Los Ángeles la gente era de que, ay, no, es que porque soy mexicano no me quieren. Es porque tengo... Güey, no mames. And that's something I want to get across to all the people that are listening today or that are watching. No tienes que ser mexicano. It's anyone. Don't play the victim. Life is not fair. And it's not fair for everyone. And life is not hard. You make it hard because of the decisions that you decide to choose or make, or because of whatever the world throws at you and the way you come out of the situation. Life is not hard, and you're not a victim. You're a victim of yourself. So that's what I got to see in Los Angeles. A lot of people playing the victim. And a mí me caga. Because I guess nunca he sido así. Nunca he sido pobrecita. Te dije, sufrí bullying, sufrí abuso, y nunca dije, poor you, Denisse, like, how can you deal with this situation? No, bitch, like, get up. Okay, people are fucking mean. That's what they do because that's what they are. Como te dije hace rato, you cannot give something that you don't have. Mm-hmm. So si lo que tienes es mierda, vas a dar mierda. But it depends. It's up to you, I'm sorry, if you let that get to you. Ah, mira, soy un trash can. Ven, tírame toda la mierda. No. I'm not a trash bin. I'm not a toilet seat.
But in LA,
you can keep that.
Is there?
I'm gonna ask you something, Veronique, and this is a great topic because it's happening right now in Florida. Que los
yes, cut.
que los que estamos como en la chinga, sabes, que si no es por nosotros, Estados Unidos no funciona. It's not like that.
Yes.
I mean, let's be real.
No, for me.
And that's why people hate me, I guess, my comments a veces, pero otros me lo adoran. For you, it might be that. But for me, that I've been through it, my mom was a farm worker. And she was underwage for a long time. Pero te voy a hacer esta pregunta. Si tú tuvieras la oportunidad de ir a la pizca y trabajar en lo que haces ahorita, ganar lo mismo quizá, o más, ¿qué trabajo tú preferías? Tú no ibas a preferir el trabajar la labor. Para ganar lo mismo sentada, yo mejor me quedo sentada. Honestly, to me, that's what it is. The labor that it's performed is because there's no other way. They had no other means or other way to get another job. Porque si les dieras otro trabajo, lo harían. That's my point of view, okay? Just stating what I believe. So ahí estamos jugando la víctima. Es que no me respetan, no. ¿Tú crees que en Florida se va a parar el trabajo por un ratito? El trabajo por un ratito, sí.
No. Let's go historically. Historically, Alabama tried to do the same shit, and Alabama got beat the fuck up. Period. No, they did. Their agriculture, everything. No. They tried to pull the same shit that DeSantis pulled. They tried, and
it didn't work.
It didn't work, and. Like, yes, we could say, okay, well, they can do this and you know, there's other ways and they don't have other ways. And so they're just going to have to deal with it. For me, it's that companies, unfortunately, at this point, we've let them go unchecked for so long. Like, since Cesar Chavez and all of the different migrant activists, you know, they made some great strides, but at the end of the day,
it hasn't.
It stopped there. Like pasó, that was the whole reason for a lot of the representation and the riots and so many other things. That was needed at the time. But they're across the board, across industries, farming, media, everything. Everyone is noticing that these companies go unchecked because they find loopholes and to make more money for themselves and less money for everybody else. Could I say, pues, tú sabes que, like my family is a migrant family. My family, just like yours, like a portion of my family were migrant workers. That's how they got here. They eventually, let me be clear, they eventually bought a farm. No, for real. They eventually bought a farm. Did they do a lot with it? Pues that's none of my business because that's a different side of my family. But at the end of the day, they bought that. They had the ability to do that because the money was there. Que pueden como
invertirlo, voltearlo,
whatever. But unfortunately now, across all industries, that's why the writer's strike is happening. That's why the strike against Florida is happening.
Yeah, and it's bad.
It's bad, but it's necessary. It's necessary. These things are necessary, so we put these people in check. Because at the end of the day, yes, maybe not every Mexicano, maybe not every Latino is working out in the fields. Maybe not every single person.
Not everybody, but
it's such a high percentage that at the end of the day, people who are immigrants, all kinds of immigrants, are out there working and they are getting paid and getting treated so horribly that you make legislation. Like when you go out of your way to make laws to hurt the people
Yeah,
that
that's
are
crazy.
working for you. No manches. Yes, go ahead and strike. You know what? He's fucking around and finding out.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Right now, it's going to cost him. And at the end of the day, it might cost everyone if it happens. DeSantis is like, ay, no, yo voy a multar a todos y los voy a meter a la cárcel ilegales.
I mean, yes, he's fighting against
Ahorita no va a haber trabajo.
No, he's fighting against farm workers and he's fighting against Disney. I'm sorry, the dude's gonna figure it out really hard.
Disney is like another story.
No, pero estoy diciendo, this man is going out of his way to fight all
because he wants votes. This is like a little strategy
but
porque es populist.
He's fighting against himself.
Sí.
Like, even the Republicans in his own party are saying, wait, that's tan pendejo. Like, when literally the Republican Party is telling you, bro, you're dumb. Like,
what do you expect?
They don't say that. They didn't say that about Trump. So, like, bro, you got to be on the wrong side of it when, like, your own party.
Pero bueno, a lo que voy con esto es, guess what's going to happen? Como tú dijiste, va a haber leyes, va a haber protección, va a haber todo. Pero mientras que eso pasa, they're gonna have to get somebody else to do it. And it could be the whites, it could be the Anglos, it could be the Asians, it could be anybody else.
No, there's already
Y le van a tener que pagar más.
No, they don't. Literally, they literally just put something out recently, a news report about the fact that they started hiring other people and they quit after one day.
Porque no lo pueden hacer, claro. No lo quieren hacer, es mucho.
That it keeps happening. Like, they keep trying to hire people, it keeps happening. And this is where I bring up Alabama. Alabama, same thing happened, and they hired a bunch of people within their neighborhood. They stopped hiring migrant workers and immigrants, and they caused so many problems that the companies that originally owned those places came in to try to figure out what's going on and then went to jail themselves because they were immigrants under their law. Todo este borlote. And at the end of the day, is it a good business for Florida? No, it's not. It's not good business.
That I agree on.
Like, it's not good business, period. Too many of the places that we know of, like gardening, everything else, there's so many labor jobs, and so many people would prefer to make, like you said, make the money sitting down, sitting in a comfortable
and that's mainly what I'm going to,
but
like the point.
But not everybody has that opportunity.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
There's not enough sitting indoor jobs.
No, there is, pero no estamos preparados. A eso voy. No podemos decir, es que Estados Unidos se hace base. No way. That's what you chose to do, and we're here for that. Somos animales para trabajar. I am.
But not everybody's like that.
Pero es lo que ese es el punto al final del día. That's like the point of my answer. The people in Florida, some of them is like, I play the victim. Y a veces todos los latinos, todos, tenemos ese cierto creencia, like we believe that because of us, U.S. is great. U.S. with or without us is gonna keep going. Same in your family, like me. I went through a divorce and I built up again, and even better. That's where I was going with that. No importa, alguien va a venir a hacerlo. Maybe they're gonna go back to us and pay us better. Like you said, there's gonna be legislations that are gonna be in favor of us. Maybe they're gonna do like an amnesty like they did back in the 80s. I mean, algo va a pasar. All I'm saying is we tend to victimize our position. We're not victims. Tú viniste a trabajar, trabaja. Will anyone else do it? No. It takes courage and it takes a lot of balls to be out there on the field, whatever it is that you do, cotton, strawberries, watermelons, aguacates, tomates, cilantro. It takes a lot of physical work, and it's hard work to be out there. Por eso te digo, no cualquiera lo va a hacer. Pero that's what we choose, or that's the only option that we have. I cannot, I guess, put it in a better way. Como yo y tú que sufrimos violencia. Would you accept for anybody else to come and beat the shit out of you?
No.
But we do, with the freaking governments that we have. Es que este te pega menos, los otros también robaban. Yeah, güey, los otros también robaban. And because the other one stole, you think that this is right? No. Instead of them saying, oh, let's talk to Biden right now, see what we can do with the border and the immigration. Bitch, go open your workforce, pay better so that we don't have to come to the States. Because I was here, I came to the States because my parents wanted a better living. And my sister was born here years ago. My sister moved back to Mexico. Mis papás se la llevaron. ¿Sabes qué? Esto no es para nosotros. My mom worked in Florida. en la naranja, en la fresa. Por eso te digo, yo sé lo que la gente pasa, que a veces no tienen ni comida porque no les dan ni de comer. I felt the need for us to go here con la gente que de repente está cultivando. Hey, dale un taco, dale un agua, dale algo. Pero we need a better government in the Latin American communities. No es que necesitamos que venir a exigir a uno. Tú no vas a tu vecino y decirle, me tienes que dar la azúcar porque me falta. No way. That's not the way. We need to start doing things the right way.
It's a really complex topic because it's interesting that you point out that, you know, your parents came here, they came here with your sister. Your sister was born here, so she was a citizen of the US because she was born here. And yet, when they got the opportunity, they left.
They went back.
They went back because it was not for them. And it was just do you feel, given your perspective, that there is a vision that other countries have of the United States and that it's not real when they come here? Like there's a narrative outside of this country. Pues vas a agarrar todo lo que quieres.
Sí, exactamente. Así es, Veronique. Muchas personas que están aquí en el puente, muchas personas que vienen, a lot of the people that are here on the borders, they don't come because, they're suffering a lot. They don't. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, be a little open-minded and accept this if you want to. You don't have to, but just give me the benefit of the doubt because I've been through it. I mean, I was there years ago. Like, I'm a millionaire to some of my people because I still have people in Mexico. No way. You work hard for what you have. If you want a better living, then you gotta work. Si tú quieres un free lunch, stay home and have kids, then you can. I mean, everybody lives how they want. Pero si nos dicen eso. Cuando mis papás se regresaron a México, mis tíos, güey, vente, ¿qué estás haciendo acá sufriendo? And my dad's like, but I'm not suffering. I mean, gracias a Dios, no éramos ricos, pero mi papá nos llevaba a restaurantes, a los tacos, al pollo, because it's a small city in the border. No es como que tienes museos. There was one cinema, and we got to go to the cine. ¿Sabes? No tuvimos lujos, pero éramos 6 hermanos y todos tuvimos algo. Vamos al circo. No éramos una persona como mucha gente es en México, que a veces no tiene ni que comer, Veronique, porque eso también existe. Hay un presidente hablando que, ya no vemos pobre. La pobreza nunca se va a acabar.
As some of you know, early in 2020, I was in a real bad accident, and the consequences you have to live with afterwards can be a lot. You can lose your car, you can lose work, and therefore money, and can be super injured and have a huge pile of hospital bills to pay. Seriously, no bueno. So if, like me, you've been the victim of an accident, you need a professional to get the care you need. In case of an accident, you need a lawyer to protect your rights and your wallet, and you don't have to look any further than that simple phrase by going to incaseofanaccident.com for a free consultation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if the person who suffered the accident wasn't you, but maybe it was your tia, your abuelita, your second cousin twice removed. I mean, I'm not here judging, but hey, whoever it is, don't worry, send them on over. Everyone at In Case of an Accident speaks Spanish and can even take messages through WhatsApp at the number 888-990-0911. Don't forget to tell them that Veronique Medrano from Accordion to Me sent you. You know that little emoji with the wallet, with the wings on it, just flying away? Well, that's me. I'm the advertiser. And I need you guys to go and listen to my music, get merch, just support however you can, even just the word of mouth. All of it helps. All you have to do is go onto your favorite streaming platform and look me up, Veronique Medrano. The new songs out now are Mezcal Maria, featuring my best girly girl, Beatriz Gonzalez, and Running on Empty, my Tejano country tune that's been featured on Billboard, The Boot, and many, many more publications. So proud of that. Coming up soon will be Que Hueva. That is our completely Spanish country tune. So make sure to go on to veroniquemedrano.com to pre-save that song or listen to any of the other songs that I have on my catalog. Almost 10 years worth of music. Come on, there's enough for you to enjoy. Also, if you want to support the pod and get some merch. You can just go onto veroniquemedrano.com/store and check out the hoodies, cups, and so much more. We'll keep dropping new things every month to celebrate the 10 years of me being in music and the arts.
Todos son diferentes, todos tienen diferentes opiniones, but the only true thing about us as Latinos and Mexicans is that we work hard anywhere we go. Anywhere we go.
And focusing on that aspect of like, you know, there's a lot of hard work, but sometimes I really do think like if we had the mentality of a, you know, and the confidence of a Caucasian man.
Nada más esas dos cosas, lo demás no.
No. If you had the confidence or the delusions of a gringo, sometimes that also helps because they only work that way. Like a lot of the times, like maybe that would help too. It's not just the hard work. It's having absolutely no fucks to give about anyone's opinion.
Working smarter.
Yeah, working smarter. And so do you feel that the Valley cultivates that in its environment? Because it's so far from everything. It's like there's a border crossing, there's a checkpoint, like literally. And so like the Valley is its own little bubble. And a lot of the creatives, a lot of the people that flourish here and then leave, time and time again in interviews, they say like, oh, well, I was from the Valley and I was really confident about myself because I was surrounded by people like myself. So I never had to question my voice versus si estás aquí y vas a Chicago.
Sí.
It's so different because you are not the majority. Like Mexicanos are not the majority over there because it's just a different majority of people. And so it's almost like this place kind of insulates you enough to where if you're ready to embark on the rest of the hard work, the traveling and everything else, do you feel that helped you being here and understanding yourself here and then moving out? Or did you find yourself out there?
I found myself out there, I think, because here I went through a lot of stuff. I didn't even know what I want in life. That's what I'm saying. When I left, it was more like, I want something better, but I didn't know what was ahead of my, what God had in store for me. I didn't know what to expect. I was in a little city in the border, like growing up, I didn't know any better. Y pues también no creo que me ayudó que había venido de la relación que tenía. O sea, eran muchas cosas. What I think helped me is in the market, and I think it helps you, and I think it could help anyone, is be you. When you're you don't have any issues. Like, ¿quién va a decir? ¿Qué me dijeron? You know who you are and what you stand for, your values. Growing up, y aquí en el Valle, mucha gente dice, es que el Valle es bien chismoso y puros chapulines, and everybody talks about everybody. But I see you empowering people. I see me trying to help other people. I mean, not the Valley. Like, gente mala hay en todas partes. Gente mala hay en todas partes. Y no es eso lo que nos define como en el Valle. When I came back to the Valley, I wanted to come back because it was a small community where I could still have my kids close to me. And like I said, pass on the values that my family provided me or guided me through life with. Y ahora no. Ahora el Valle ha crecido y hay mucho vandalismo y hay mucha criminalidad y it's a bigger picture now. It's a bigger city. Believe it or not, I mean, it's grown. And to me, I'm not a city person. I want to be cozy, chiquitito, that's why I came back from LA. Pero yo creo que eso también tiene que ver, Veronique, que no es que es el Valle. El Valle didn't help me. It's whatever you were, raised with different things. No sé cómo decirte que en Los Ángeles, a pesar de que todos decían, no mames, güey, you're in LA, ¿qué se siente? And I'm like, to me it was the same thing, pero digo, yo no sabía lo grande que era. Yo no sabía the potential of that one station. I didn't know what it meant. I was in the Desfile de las Rosas, the Rose Bowl. You know how it's televised. It's thousands of people. And I got to say, oh, yeah, we want to be there. Some guy reached out to me, do you want to be in there? Sure. So I was making arrangements. I was the producer of the show, too, in a way. I met, various personalities. I even met Angelina Jolie at one event. This was for the Angels, el baseball team. They were doing like a fundraiser, and so I was like, oh, chiquitita la muchacha, flaquitita. And I was at all. I couldn't, even speak. Pleasure to meet you. Let's go. Like, I was just at all. I met Dolores Dawson. She's also like an artist or actress. I remember Lamar Odom and Chloe getting engaged at the pier. I was out there, and then I see all these paparazzis like going nuts. I'm like, ¿Quién chingados es esa vieja? And then I look and I'm like, oh my God, I know who she is now.
Yeah.
She wasn't even like all thin and like nice. How she was a little thicker. But Lamar Odom was a great basketball player back then, or famous. So I knew him. I mean, that's how dumb I was. I knew him. I didn't know who she was. Pero te digo, al final del día, yo no me sentía volada por donde estaba. You have to have your feet on the ground, like very set.
It's interesting you say that, because more and more as, my network expands, in the sense of like who I affect and who listens to me, I have this very small group of people, like really small, like 5 people. I can count them literally on this hand, that I talk to on a daily basis as things are growing. This is not including my parents, mind you. These are 5 people in the industry that, are just very close with me. And I talk with them a lot.
Like, they have confidence to be.
Son mis confiados. Like they're people that I confide in a lot, and they're mentors. Like they're my confidants and they're my mentors. And I realize how important that is to have that, because exactly like you said, keep your feet on the ground. I remember somebody telling me like, hey, like XYZ person. I'm not gonna say it yet because it hasn't come out yet, but but like XYZ person, I was freaking out like a little bit, like internally. I was like, oh la madre. I was all excited that I got something, but I was talking about it with somebody else, and I said I wasn't excited because of the person. I was excited because
the achievement.
It was
what it meant.
Yeah, of the achievement and what it's gonna mean for people to see una mujer que, tú sabes, está tantito más cafecito, like, it's a brown woman, a woman who's brown, who's Mexicana, reaching esos niveles, like going and being on the red carpet at CMT and interviewing like the people that I was interviewing. It was more, I'm there, I'm in the room, I'm in that space. But I confided in those people, and I talk to them almost every week, because I never want to say I'm trying to humble myself, because desafortunadamente,
let people say that.
Yeah, people can say that, pero para mí, I hate the word humble yourself, and let me just be clear as to why. Humbling myself, when the word is used, feels like I'm making myself smaller so you can digest me. And I don't like that. I've been through it. When I was, a wet 150 pounds, 155, up until now, the shape I am now, more curvy. I'd always felt like I kept trying to be smaller, digestible, less loud, less that, and it was like, oh, you're too much this, or you're too much that.
Querías encajar, like you wanted to fit in.
I really did, to the point that a lot of the times when you're fitting in, that's people translate that to humble. Oh, look, she's so humble.
Nope.
And not realizing that when you're doing that to people, you're minimizing them. You're not allowing them to be the complex person that they are. And so I constantly have to be with these people and talking with these people and having my little network of people and my mentors. And they're very specific people that are very loud, and joyous and so in touch with who they are, that it's allowed me to really own my worth and own who I am, because a lot of the times that's what it is when
we forget that.
Yeah, you forget that, like, things are going so fast, because in media, in entertainment, it's like a hurry up and wait. But you move really fast, then you wait, then you reorder.
Como cuando tu mamá te dice, ¿por qué hiciste esto? ¿Por qué no me contestas? Cállate el hocico. Ay, pero me dijiste que te conteste, no quiero nada. That's how it is in media. Like
exactly. And so I'm curious, ¿por qué la peligrosa?
Fíjate, yo no me acuerdo quién me lo puso, creo que era Rubén Vela el que prende la vela y Layo González en aquel lado. Yo quiero pensar que es por mi manera de hablar. You know how I'm from the north. O sea, soy del norte y hablo fuerte y es recio. Y tu carácter es fuerte. Mi carácter no es fuerte. Cuando una persona dice que tiene carácter fuerte, es que como que bien peleonera. No, I'm like, the least problems I have in my life, the better. Oye, me hiciste... Mira, tuve amigas que se acostaron con noviecillos míos. They're still my friends. Alguien más hubiera ido... Y muchas veces ¿cómo? Pasaron situaciones donde la gente they will hurt me. Like, you know, with their actions. And I said, no, like... It's not gonna bother me, like, that's fine. So no peleo, no soy pelonera.
No eres peleonera, but you know what you want.
Oh, no, I do. So cuando ellos me empezaron a decir, ¿cómo te vamos a decir? ¿Cómo te vamos a decir? Entonces me dijeron que tengo pistola. Las caderas, de like, ¿sabes qué? Por tu voz y eso, tú vas a ser la peligrosa. And I'm like, okay. So when people tell me, ¿por qué la peligrosa? ¿Por qué la peligrosa? Yo, por las pistolas. No, pero, you know, like, I don't know why. I really don't know why.
But it rolls really nice. And you know, for the time that it was, it cemented you. And then when did La Peligrosa turn into La Ronca?
Cuando me moví a Chicago.
Okay.
Chulo's like, es que peligrosa sounds too, you know, like violent for girls. And we want girls to relate to you, to identify their situations or relate them to yours. And I was like, pues, sí, está bien. Entonces yo era...
What's wrong with a girl being peligrosa?
Fíjate, well, to me, I don't think there's anything wrong.
But to them.
Pero para ellos era como que queremos que las mujeres se identifiquen contigo. No queremos... You know, in this industry, girls always, or tend, not always, take that back, the majority of the times tend to be jealous, tend to be mean. Not everybody empowers, not everybody supports, not everybody cheers you on. Not everybody. Te digo porque me pasó. Cuando yo me fui a Chicago, me habla una muchacha, soy tu amiga, bla, bla, bla. She wasn't my friend, pero I'm here for you. I'm glad that you left. This girl... Yes, ¿sabes?
That's such a wild thing to say. I'm so glad you left.
And you know why she was glad that? Anyway, she was glad, but she was hurt. See, she got the job. She'd been there before me, so she got the job back. And she wanted to be where I was. So cuando yo regreso, se vale decir.
I think I have a feeling who it is.
Bueno, she's not, I don't think she's in the industry.
Yes. I think I know exactly.
But she's not on radio. She's not in radio. She's not in radio. ¿Eh?
Are we sure?
Yeah, she's not in radio.
Oh, okay.
Pero yo te digo fuera del aire. Porque no quiero como sonar, ay, pinche vieja, está hablando de mí. No. Pero, you know, she was like, I'm glad, but I'm not glad. And then when I come back, she was my hater. My number one hater.
Ay, mira, tu number one fan.
Y yo así como
she's
que,
the president of your fan club?
Yes.
Ay, qué rico.
Y yo me quedaba como like, wait, what did I do to her, right? Like, I always wanted people to like me. There was times where I would call people, disculpe que dije esto en la radio, no era lo que yo quería, blah, blah, blah. And the girls are like, wait, no mames, no pensé que tú eras así. Like, eres buena onda. I'm like, bueno, it is what it is. Pero ahora sí soy más peleonera en la radio. Pero no porque, ay, es un personaje. No, porque a veces sí tengo que poner mi punto de vista. ¿Sabes qué? Como mujeres a veces nos aplastan. No es mentira lo que estoy diciendo. No se ofendan. En la industria muchos hombres están inseguros. Muchos hombres no aceptan que una mujer pueda hacer el mismo trabajo. Y cosa que no soy feminista. I'm not a feminist, that we don't need guys, blah, blah, blah. In essence, we don't even need them to like procreate. You know that, right?
Yeah.
There's an article that we can get our own mother.
Yeah.
Y que podemos embarazarnos solas.
Ah, pues.
Según. It's an article that I read years ago. Por eso digo, no necesitamos ni para embarazarnos, para procrear.
Yeah,
pero I'm not a feminist.
Sometimes be fun, I guess.
So, yeah, I'm not a feminist, okay? I do love men and I
mean, you are a feminist. You
in a way, but there's a description more profound than just like that overall I'm feminist because I'm a girl and I can... No. A feminist does not want guys in their lives. That's what a feminist is. Yo soy igual que tú, yo puedo hacer tu mismo trabajo y no te necesito. I do need men. I want a man in my life. I want a man to compliment me. So ahí es donde me quito el feminismo. Allí. Para todo lo demás no los ocupo. Te digo, ni para procrear. Pero yeah, it was I don't know. It was
so they changed you to La Ronca
changed
there
me
because
that.
they wanted you to be more.
But it sounds harsh too, La Ronca. It sounds harsh, you know, like
La Ronca.
La Ronquita.
Bro, that doesn't. You're trying so hard to make that sound so soft.
No, that's what it is.
No.
La Ronquita.
Pero no te dicen la ronquita,
There's
te dicen
people-
la ronca.
Sí, la ronca.
That ronca.
Ronca.
Ronquita, I would have been like... Ronquita, I would have been like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's softer.
It's a little softer.
Pero ronca, that
Comes out like
just really aggressive.
It is aggressive.
And so you
it was just as bad.
Well, you took that name there, but you were able to
maintain it.
To maintain it. Because I know a lot of people have to change their names sometimes when they move markets, when they move to
only if there's one, like this is what happens. Like here, when I left the Valley, there was a girl that got my name, La Peligrosa, the nickname. Since it wasn't registered, and I wasn't the original Peligrosa, there was another Peligrosa. I found that, later. So anyone can take it because it's not registered. Mine is registered.
But registered how?
You go to like
trademark?
No. Like a regular name. You go to the in Edinburgh, the municipal court, and there's like the births and death certificates and all that. There's a place, right? So you go and ask, how can I register my name? I'm a personality. You, Veronique, tú puedes registrar tu nombre.
We're not putting out this episode until I register my name with the city. We're gonna cut this part. But this is so interesting because I didn't realize you literally had to register it with the courthouse.
Sí, tú puedes ir. Y ahora,
social security number? Or?
No, you don't have to because it's not your legal name. It's a name. Like it's your nickname. No es un nombre legal. Like you're not. Chulo did this. Chulo switched his middle name to his nickname. So in his birth certificate or his license, it says Joaquin El Chulo Garza. To me, it was fucking crazy. My real name is Denisse Alejandra Garcia. Imagine I take Alejandra out, I'm like, Denisse, La Ronca Garcia. No way. Oh, here's my license, officer. La Ronca, you can go. You're free to go. ¿Sabes? Para mí no lo cambiaría. It's just like a business purpose, for a business purpose. Like a DBA. Tú tienes un DBA, eso es más o menos como eso.
Okay.
So, ahora, there's different, like in politics, different branches here too. If you do it locally, you go to Edinburgh. If you want it statewide, you go to Austin or you call. If you want it national, you go to the Supreme Court. Sí, señora. Ajá. Señorita.
Wow, I didn't know any of that. So you registered.
So when they hired me in Chicago, they asked me, what's going to be your nickname? And I was like, I don't know. Te digo que estaba toda mensa. They're like, well, you have a week to give us a name because this name is going to stay, or you don't register it here, and they can take it from you. I'm like, ni madres, no me lo van a quitar. So I had to go to the court, and I grabbed it. So now, if you want to use La Ronca, because there was a movie, I don't know if you knew, there was a series, La Ronca de Oro. She was a singer, but her
La Ronca de Oro.
Sí, La Ronca de Oro. So a lot of people were like, hey, tú eres. Y luego hay una chava de Los Ángeles con la que trabajé that came to the Valley. Ya no están al aire. She was working at another station. Syndicalized. ¿Cómo se dice? Syndicated. Her nickname is La Bronca. It's like, tú eres La Bronca. I'm like, no, pero tú estabas en Los Ángeles, sí. Pero tú no estabas con el Chulo, sí. She was with el Chulo too, years before me. So there was a lot of confusion, right? So anyway.
How do you deal with that? Because when it happened to me, I was super frustrated because when I was first starting out in Tejano, I was unique in the sense of it was Veronique Medrano. And at first we were just going by Veronique. And then other artists started like randomly creating a middle name that never existed, and like Eek, like names that had Monique or something.
Well, Monique.
Yeah, Monique and or but like there's so many Eeks. There's IQUE has different iterations and stuff like that, and it started to frustrate me because I was like, okay, well now I have to add my last name, which I never wanted to. En verdad, I never wanted to add my last name in my performance name. Pero how do you, or better yet, how do you feel about constantly being confused in the market? Because this is like, in entertainment, it is so easy to get like that confusion. And how do you deal with that?
At the beginning it was hard, porque sí, como te dices, te molesta. You get frustrated. I'm like, no mames, o sea, ni sabes ni quién soy. And you,
literally, that's how I felt.
Going back to the studies, the certification that I have, and knowing who you are, going back to that, is your ego. Going back to meditation too, because I meditate. It's your ego.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I always knew that.
And that's it.
Yeah, that was it.
Once you surpass that, you'll be happy. Imagine your name, you get, or your nickname, you get confused Imagine being called something else in front of you because of your voice. That's even worse. So alguien no me conocía, me dijo, tú eres tal. No. Oh, te oyes igual. I don't think I do, but okay.
Yeah, that's what frustrates
Pero
me
es
too.
es el ego. Yo ya no me molesto. De repente me dicen, hey,
No, for me, it was more, at the time, yes, it was a little bit of ego, but it was more business. Like, yo, I'm trying to put stuff on the radio.
But
like,
that's what it is.
Like, no, but the problem was, at least for me, I get the ego part, but it was like my business is being affected because
my job was being affected.
Because someone was using a name that was so similar to mine in my same market. And I was like, pues ching. Like, and that's where I found the solution. I said, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna focus on it. I'm just gonna use my last name. If at this point they can't figure it out at that point and they keep messing up, it's just them. Like, I'm not gonna change it. It was something interesting that Jorge brought up. It's like sometimes you could talk with somebody and explain to them and you know who you can talk to clarify and educate. And there's some people
you can't,
and you just go, no, that's not my name. Thank you so much. Bye. Like you just gotta leave it alone because you were not going to win in a conversation about your name or just simple things. If somebody in a simple conversation is willing to fight to the death, don't.
Pues es lo mismo como ahorita de la voz. Te digo, your name, imagine your voice. It was affecting my job. Because you are this person. No, I'm not. Por eso te digo que al día de lo que yo aprendí, whatever I learned, and whatever helped me, it was my ego. Once I passed my ego, once I brought it down, porque era el ego. ¿Cómo me vas a comparar con la otra persona? Like, I've been on air for 10, 15 years. Está peor la voz que con el nombre, güey. Con el nombre cualquiera se puede confundir, pero con la voz. So that was affecting my job too. Pero a mí no me afectó. Pero te digo, llegó un punto donde otra persona me dijo el nombre de ella. Y yo así como que, no, I'm not. Él no me conocía. Y yo le decía, do you know her? Because if you do see us together, we do like look nothing alike at all. We look nothing alike. So por eso te digo, at the end of the day is that. Yo sé que te afecta, pero a mí también me estaba afectando. Pero dije, ¿sabes qué? I don't care. So now when people are like, oh, tú te vi en un programa de televisión bailando, because Ronca did a dancing, I was like, oh no, that's not me. What do you mean? No, yo soy Ronca. Ella es Bronca. Soy bien broncuda, pero no. You know, like I made it funny.
Yeah, like when you start kind of poking a joke at it, then suddenly everyone kind of backs off.
Te digo, y me pasa ahorita. Hace unos días me pasó, and I was like, that's crazy. No voy a decir con quién, but it was a big event. Y me dicen, sí, ronca. Then we go live, and she's like, ay, bronquita, bronca. And I was like, I just laughed. I could have said, no, blah, blah. We were on air. We were live on Instagram. I mean, está peor, te digo. But I didn't, because you're sure who you are. Ese nombre o esa equivocación.
I guess for me, with my name, I'm a little bit more protective. I'm a little bit more aggressive with it because at this point...
You're more jealous. Tú eres protegedora. Eres celosa.
Nope.
Yo así le llamo, celos. Celos de mi trabajo.
I call it respect. Respect me. There's a difference to me. Respect my name. I'm not going to go over here and call you Panfilo if your name is Panucho. Like, I'm just saying, like, why would I do that to you? That's a sign of respect. Like, when you tell me your name and how you say it, respeto. If I were to do something like that to you, like, let's just say, I'm Ronca, and I say Bronca, I get... And I would make a joke of it and then say your name correctly. I wouldn't keep
No, they
saying,
didn't.
No.
And that's what I'm saying. They didn't.
No, they didn't. But me as a person, I realize at this grand old age I am. I'm not super old, but I just feel like I'm no longer in my teens or in my 20s. I think I would get very aggressive really quick. And at this point, I'm like, no, it's a sign of respect. If you wanted me to call you Dr. Blah, and I just call you Blah, y no te doy el título, you already asked me how to tell you, how to address you. And especially when you're in the public eye, I think it's even more important to say, tú sabes que esto es mi nombre, por favor. I've seen it a few times because a few other people have complicated names and people just purposefully say it. And that's the thing, is like you say, oh, pues no es en propósito. But at the same time, in the media, in the public eye, it is vital that you say the person's name correctly. Why? Because whoever's listening, that's their first time hearing them, and that's sometimes that's it. You only get one impression, and
I'm Denisse Garcia La Ronca.
She's La Ronca.
La Ronca.
But that's.
And I get you.
No, and that's just me. Like me, I know. Like again, I know I'm slightly more forward about it, but please say my name correctly. It's Veronique. Not Veronica, not Veronique, Veroniqua.
They have called you Veronique? Oh
Veronique is another one. Like they have missaid my name I don't know how many times, and when I'm out in public they're like Veronica. I said that's not my fucking name. I've said that before. I literally told somebody straight up. They kept saying it. Turned around and looked at them and I said that's not my name and I'm not going to continue. Like at some point I just turned it off. I turn off my ear on purpose. I don't have an ear thing. I literally just do it in my head. I stop listening to them and they're like Veronica, and I just keep walking. And I don't give a shit if they think that I'm being chocante or whatever. It's like, how would you like someone to missay your name over and over and over again? Like, how would you like, people would not like it because it almost is removing your identity.
Well, I get that part. You're right. You're removing your identity. Pero
like if somebody were to call you Danny instead of Denisse.
They call me Denisse.
No.
Como el restaurant. Denisse.
But the thing is, Denisse is a little bit closer to Denisse. But I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying it's close. Pero that's them trying. It's something to me cuando you don't even try. And as a person with a name.
Antes sí, the old Denisse would have made a big deal about it. Y yo le llamo celos, porque cuando tú eres una persona celosa, lo proteges, lo cuidas. Y te digo porque yo soy celosa con mi trabajo. And I told a couple of clients de repente, oye, esto, no. Yo tengo una línea bien delgadita. There's a line, very thin line between work and friendship. You don't do what you want with me or my job. I'm very jealous. I call it jealousy.
I call it protectiveness.
Y tú eres, no, dijiste otra palabra ahorita, like the respect. It's respect también. Pero yo le llamo eso, celoso. Like, soy celoso de mi trabajo. No quiero que nadie me lo toque. You know? Like, you don't
possessive. You're possessive of that. And
pero con el nombre, te juro que no. Hay muchas cosas.
Spend all that time for like 12 days trying to figure out what to call me.
I know.
Just for me not to protect it.
Pero son cosas que, mira, at the end of the day, it's priorities. Mm-hmm. You have your priorities, I have mine. 3 years ago, the old, and that is not because of COVID, que toda la gente ahora es coach de vida, la chingada. No, it's not because of that. It's because I lived a life where being in the big cities, it was always work for me. My family was at the end. And it's not like that, dude. I lost a very dear friend when he was 24. And then a year later, another one that was like 28. Recently, I mean, a lot of deaths that I've seen. I was like, ¿cuándo vas a recapacitar, pendeja? Like, your family is first. I would do everything and anything for work. Güey, yo a veces lloraba, but I had to work. Man, it's because, like, my kid is having a presentation right now. I'm at work. You don't do that, Veronique. You don't do that. So started meditating, started learning about other things, starting finding the real meaning of what I wanted. Because I always said, I want better. What's better? Hay gente que dice, es que tú tienes que ser una chingonada, tener tu negocio. Güey, todo el mundo te conoce. Like, everybody knows you. You should have a brand. I don't want it. I had a business before, and it was very fructiferous. I had money. I paid my house. When I was 30, I had already owned 2 houses. Did it make me Denisse, a better Denisse? No. Now I've encountered myself. I've encountered the balance. I've encountered and known, because I think we always know, but we forget that the little things do count. So, yo ya no me preocupo que si me dicen, I don't know, cualquier otro nombre. Y antes me afectaba. Yo me enojaba. Lo que te dije de la otra persona. Es que te oyes como ella. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. Y voy a pelear, como dices tú, a una guerra de que
no, I definitely don't.
My mental peace is better than anything. So la gente puede decir que me acosté con uno para estar donde estoy, okay. La gente puede decir que me escucho como otra, ajá, sí. La gente puede decir que yo gano millones de dólares y que me la paso, que si mantengo mi marido, okay. I'm at a point where that's what it is. It's at the end of the day, it's priorities. Yo sé que mi mamá sí batalló para mi nombre. Tanto que mi hermano se llama Alejandro y yo soy Alejandra. Duh. She wasn't thinking straight, I guess. She registered me and my brother the same day. Denise Alejandra, Roel Alejandro. Wow, mamá. Were you in love with an Alejandro or what? Right?
Alejandro.
Oye, somos 6. Imagínate que a los 6 nos hubiera puesto Alejandros. Pero yeah, I think it's priorities. At the end of the day, it's priorities. What do you think that it's very important to you? And if you think your name and your identity is important, it's vital, then you gotta fight for that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I fight for it personally, because it's just like, for me, that's what that is.
And you're trying to get your music and everything across. So yeah.
I always ask all my guests, and this has just been such, and I'm gonna say this right now, this has been such a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
We've gotten to like really dig into it. If we had all the hours in the day, we
We could have been here forever.
We could be here forever. But every guest, I always ask them this last question: what is life accordion to you?
Love. I can summarize it in that. Anything requires love. If you have a family, you love the family. If you have work, you have to love your work. And I don't believe in that saying that if you love what you do in life, or you never have to work a day of life. Bullshit. Work is translated to something that you do for money. So if we really love what we did and didn't like work a day in a life, then we wouldn't get paid for it. That's called passion. And love and passion can terminate. So you gotta build it day by day. Learn that. Mira, I really mean what I say. You gotta work building love every day. Porque el amor y la pasión se acaban también. It's not a forever thing. And I can just say that. Love everybody, be loved, and love yourself. The most important thing, self-love.
Thank you guys so much for another wonderful episode of Accordion to Me and joining us on this magical journey. As always, remember, puro amor, puro besos, mwah, puro tejano. Bye. Thank you for listening to Accordion to Me. The team behind this week's episode includes mixing and editing by Juan Pablo Diaz, theme music by Rodrigo Montalvo, produced by Javi G from MD Media. In-person recordings were done at the Spotify Studios and remotely through Riverside FM. Accordion to Me is distributed through Anchor, and you can stream Accordion to Me wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I'm your host and executive producer, Veronique Medrano. Puro amor, puro besos, puro tejano.